Another episode, another unicorn. Welcome to another episode of Mzansi Unicorns. My name is Teddy Kuzwayo, and on this episode, I'm joined by none other than Nhlanhla Dlamini, the CEO and founder of Maneli Pets. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
No, it's great to have you. It's great to have you. You know, one of the things that has always fascinated me about you and your business is, how did you get into the pet food business?
Yeah, it's not often that you've got black guys from Soweto getting into the pet industry.
No, not at all. I mean, we've got a very different view on pets.
No, very much. And so does the rest of my family.
Yeah.
So it wasn't directed initially.
Okay.
And also the veering off from corporates, which I worked in for the first 10 years of my career into entrepreneurship, that move wasn't apparent. I went off to grad school in the US and the UK for 4 years.
Okay.
And in that time, that's when I started dabbling with the idea of going into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And what I wanted to do with entrepreneurship was, one, export more South African products to the rest of the world, ideally food products, because when I was living abroad, I was paying exorbitant prices for pretty mediocre food. And secondly, I wanted to create something that was going to live beyond the time that I actually worked in that company. So those were the initial impulses. When I came back to South Africa, I continued working as a management consultant for 3 years. And at that point, I decided that I'd saved enough and I'd gained enough skills to take a shot at entrepreneurship. Initially, I gave myself 9 months to explore different opportunities in the food industry broadly, to build a business that's exportable, scalable, unique, and interesting. And when I started thinning it down to a few different criteria, two popped out. The one was exporting meat to the international markets, and the other was exporting dried nuts. Meat had more traction. It's a bigger market. We are phenomenal meat producers in this country.
Of course, yes.
But in pursuing that idea, I realized that there's a lot of structural barriers for exporting to the US and to Europe. The farmer lobbies in those countries are really restrictive and protective. So I decided to instead veer off from meat for human consumption for the pet market. And I'm really glad I did that. It's a fast-growing...
But why? I'm still confused. I was like, how did you transition from humans to pets?
Getting feedback from people. So I was trying to export ostrich, venison, and lamb to the US. And the regulators were saying, this is doable, but it's probably going to take you 7 years. And I was also...
7 years?
Yes, just because the governments need to align, policies need to be changed. So I didn't have that patience and that stomach. Separate from that, I was also speaking to potential customers in the US to see if they had appetite for buying meat from South Africa. They did, but they kept on asking me, is there anything for pets that uses the same proteins that we could exploit and sell into the US market? And there was nothing. So I decided, because it was a one-man business at the time, to start producing some samples that I could send to potential buyers and wholesalers there. Dried biltong, dried bones, dried liver, and they loved it across the board. So after about 6 months of me parallel processing either meat for the human market or the pet market, decided to let go of the meat market and just focus on pets.
Wow. Do you have pets?
I do.
Okay. You said it very cautiously.
No, I said it cautiously because I actually have a cat and I sell mostly dog treats.
No, I've seen mostly dog products. Do your cats eat dog food?
No, they do not. And part of the reason we don't have a dog at the moment is we live in a building that doesn't allow that. But I grew up with dogs. My affinity for dogs has always been there. I wouldn't say that's the main reason I started the business. Of course, I do love animals and dogs. But the main reason I went into this industry was, one, exporting South African products to the rest of the world. Two, building something of scratch that would live beyond me. Creating jobs was a really big reason. And obviously the economics, it had to make financial sense.
Okay. Before we continue, if you are a talented musician in Mzansi, you are an entrepreneur. Thanks to our sponsor for this episode, Fanbase Africa, we are proud to introduce to you Encore, a platform they have built for ambitious artists to sell music, merchandise, and tickets to your global fan base. Join the movement and transform your life. Use a promo code Mzansi Unicorn 26 to stand the chance to win one of 26 lifetime platform fees. Let's get back to the episode. But let's sort of circle back to your upbringing. So you mentioned you're a boy from Soweto. So tell me a little bit more about that and just some of the elements that actually grounded you to becoming where you are today.
Sure. So I was born in 84 in Fuller South and lived there with my sister and my parents until the early 90s. My family was great, as relatively poor as we were, but it was a nuclear family with two loving parents. My older sister was a great role model. And my parents were very, very hardworking with the limited resources they had. My mom worked multiple jobs to make sure that I went to a Model C school, then a private school. And my dad similarly had multiple jobs. Aside from their work ethic, which is a big thing that I learned from them, they were also very kind and community-centered people. My dad had a shop in Soweto, and a lot of times they were giving away stuff to customers or people in need that volunteer in the little time that they had on weekends. So I also had that as part of my makeup. So the two things I'd say I took away from my parents are a strong work ethic and a sense of community. I've then now tried to dovetail that into many things that I've done throughout my career. So I've always looked for things that are not just about the money. It had to be either a job that, yes, of course, will pay my salary and the company needs to be profitable, but I can justify that this is still meaningful for the community or for society at large. I'm doing that more directly now. The reason I left management consulting was because I felt like this is doing great things for the private sector, but it's not doing great things for the country. And the country has a great need for jobs to be created, for social problems and social ills to be addressed, and for talented people to choose those causes as one of their main occupations, as opposed to just building wealth for themselves. So I've taken a step backwards financially in terms of the work I'm doing now in comparison to what I was doing before. But we employ over 40 people. At a time, we're employing nearly 200 people pre-COVID. And it's been very meaningful to role model to other young Black people that you can do the kind of work that's financially rewarding, maybe not the most lucrative, but very meaningful for the community and for society at large.
I mean, 40 people is 200 people.
Yes.
Potentially.
Each
of them have families.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you say your parents, your dad had a shop. Were they entrepreneurs?
My dad was. My mom was not. My mom worked a front office in many different companies. My dad was quite a hero, actually. He was raised in the rural areas by a surrogate family. And then he left the villages in Vanda to look for his real mom. And he found her after a year of searching. As a teenager, as a late teens. And then built himself up from scratch, initially being a delivery guy for a dry cleaner, then a courier or a rep for a meat company, to then setting up his own butchery in Soweto and then his own general dealer in Soweto.
That's where the meat came from.
That's where the meat
from back then.
Exactly. So he's always been an entrepreneur, and watching him, I swore to myself growing up that I'd never go into entrepreneurship. It was just too risky, too hard, too little money. And when the chips are down, you're always the person who has to suffer the most in service of everyone else. So I really didn't want that for myself. But after working in corporate for 10 years, I realized that my circumstances and this generation is different to what my dad was dealing with 30, 50 years ago. So despite how much I had a reservation about going into entrepreneurship, I just felt that I was better equipped to take on entrepreneurship and running a business.
I mean, do you believe entrepreneurships are made or born?
Great question. Great question.
And the reason I asked that is you are very much against entrepreneurship. All right. But your dad was an entrepreneur. Your mom wasn't.
Yes.
So at some point, and not entrepreneurship is not for everyone either, right? For various reasons. But in your case, you're very much a corporate person.
Yes.
But against your will, you went into entrepreneurship.
I think it's a bit of both. You need some of the intrinsics of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that you need to learn to be a good entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What are those intrinsics? I believe grit, an ability to sell, street smarts, ingenuity. So it's not book smarts, but ingenuity, creativity, being able to rally people, because that's really what you're doing. You're rallying investors, you are rallying customers, you are rallying a team of your staff to come work for you, to operate the way you believe you should be operating. So those are the basic skills that you need to have. But there's a lot that you need to learn, far more than I anticipated going into this. And I mean, I went into this with an MBA and a separate master's. So,
Rhodes scholar, which I actually want to talk about just now.
So I felt I had decent training and also 10 years of work experience. But my God, I've learned so much at being an entrepreneur. So I'd say it's probably about 20 to 40% makeup, and the other 60 to 80 is learning and experience, which is why people who come from families of business owners and entrepreneurs are more likely to succeed just because they've had that training at home as opposed to learning on the job and making expensive mistakes.
But let's actually talk about the educational background. Because like I said, I mean, going into corporates, you've done 2 masters. Tell me about your decision to study whatever you studied, and how much that has actually contributed to both the corporate transition as well as the entrepreneurship. Like, what did you study and where?
So I was mostly on bursaries and scholarships for most of my education.
So was I.
Similar story. So in high school, I knew that I had to, do really well to get into varsity and get a bursary. And bursaries were aligned to specific degrees. So that limited my scope. If money wasn't an object, I probably would have gone into drama. I loved drama.
So dramatic. Why drama?
No, I've become more muted because I haven't done anything performative or drama like for 2 decades. But I loved drama growing up. I also wanted to be a sports player. So I would have done something in the sports or entertainment or dramatic arts if it wasn't for money.
Did you play sport? As in, like, what sport did you play?
I played at provincial. I played a lot of sports at school. At provincial level, I played rugby, soccer, basketball.
Really? All three?
All 3. At provincial.
Wow. Gauteng?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the rest I didn't have time. And karate. Also
provincial karate. Wow. Okay.
And then,
but did you study? You had to work hard to get to varsity, but you're busy kicking people all over the place.
So my parents moved out of the hood, like I mentioned just before 94. And in suburbia, there weren't as many kids to play with on the street. So I was desperately lonely for a while. And I resented that at the time. But I'm so glad that my parents made that move, because it forces you to be self-disciplined, to fill your time with constructive things when you are bored. So I fill my time with extramurals, ones offered at school, or all the clubs that are available in the south of Johannesburg, which is where I grew up. So my week was probably about 4 sports in the summer.
1 week.
I was playing sports on Saturday and on Sunday, and 3 sports during the week at school. So that's how I kept myself busy. And I loved it. So I then went on to Wits on a rugby scholarship and an academic scholarship.
Rugby scholarship? Okay. So you could have also played for the Lions.
I could have. But I realized in matric that, one, there's a lot of luck in sports. And if that luck is not on your side, then all your fortune is lost. And secondly, I was gifted, but not necessarily in the top 5%, even by my over top 10% by my own admission. And you can work to close that gap, but it's also really important for people to realize that you're not a uniquely, prodigiously
You're not
talented.
going to be a Springbok.
Exactly.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
So still keep playing the sports for enjoyment.
Yeah.
But you probably have a safer bet with academics or something else that doesn't need the top 2% or the top 5%.
Yeah.
So played rugby all throughout varsity, and also
What position were you in rugby?
I was a flank, and then after varsity went overseas or in England and in America, I was playing as a backline player.
Okay. But you know what? As a flank, you probably top 0.001% where you'd need to be, because South Africa has so many flanks.
Oh, yes.
So I've always said
absolutely.
that there's two positions where you need to make sure you have a BCom. One is loose forward. So any of the flankers are eighth man. And the other is props and hookers. Like 3 positions. The Springboks are just overwhelmed with so many different options in those positions.
So true. And so played rugby, but what I was studying was a BCom in computers and also accounting. And really enjoyed that. And managed to finish top of my class. Then did a postgrad at the Wits Business School. And I was meant to go and work in the computer industry for all my undergrad. That's the sponsor, the bursary that I had. But at the last minute, I got an offer from McKinsey & Company and went to go and interview with them and really loved what they were doing and the opportunities that industry presented. So knowing nothing about management consulting, that was my first job. So my academic choices were very often dictated by my financial circumstances. For postgrad, that was a different story because I already had 2 years of work experience and I could choose options and degrees that spoke more to my interests. So with that said, I then did an MPhil at Oxford in international development. And my research and my focus was on youth unemployment in South Africa. Because that was the biggest problem that I saw growing up, that if you've got an unemployed parent or unemployed parents, that family is really, really broken, really, really stuck. Which is true for so many South Africans, unfortunately. So if you solve that problem, I think you solve many other problems by extension. So that's what I did for my one postgrad. And for the other postgrad, I wanted to do an MBA to see that if I were to do something beyond management consulting, what might it be? And where can I test myself against some of the best? So I decided to go do that in the US, and it was a great experience.
But the MPhil with Oxford was a Rhodes Scholar, correct?
It was, yes. So the Rhodes Scholarship I got in 2007, and then I started at Oxford in 2008.
Okay. It's a two-year program.
2-year masters.
2-year masters. Okay. And then you went to the US. Was it also on a scholarship, or did McKinsey fund it?
Yes. So if sponsored MBA, I mean, there's still cost overruns for a bunch of things that you need to fund out of pocket. So those were for my own accounts, but I'm very lucky that the tuition was covered by someone else. So
you don't need to convince me. It's just that work back period. Right?
Exactly.
Of 2 years?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, that's not bad.
That's not.
I'll work back anytime.
I'll
take it. Okay.
So MPhil and then MBA, and then I was back in SA in 2012. And I've been mostly back since then.
Okay. So now let's go back to firstly, why Maneli? Maneli, I think, is the family that started AVI.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't know if it's linked to Maneli at all.
So I wanted 3 things in a company name. I wanted an African name that's easily pronounceable, because I knew that I wanted this to be an international business. Obviously a name that's available for registration across domains, CIPC, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted a name that has significance or meaning for me or my family. And so had a bunch of suggestions, and the one that ticked all those boxes was Maneli. Maneli is my mom's maiden name. And she's by far the most important person in my life. Along with my daughter and my wife. But she is my mom's maiden name, and I just wanted to honor her and what she's done for me and my sister and my family, for so many people.
Wow. So this hunch that you have, every entrepreneurship has a story, or every entrepreneur has a story. Which country was it in? Was it in the UK or the US?
Definitely in the UK.
Yeah.
So when you shop at Woolies or the like in South Africa, and then your first stop in the UK is Marks and Spencer, and you lose your shirts. Like all these zeros.
Because it's even in the underground. I mean, Marks and Spencer's everywhere.
So it's good quality, but it's exorbitantly expensive. So I was like, let me find the next best. And I shopped around a range of places where I was like, where can I find a combination of decent prices and good value or good quality? And it was hard. And I think part of it is just the produce they get is not as good as the produce we have here in SA.
Yeah.
We've got some of the best fruits, nuts, wines, meats. Food in general is just exceptional in this part of the world.
Yeah.
And in pockets we know that.
Yeah.
But I don't think we know it as well as, say, the Japanese do or the Italians do. So that was the first light bulb moment for me. I was just like, I'm paying a lot of money for lesser quality than I'd be paying at home. I know that there's this arbitrage opportunity between the quality and the cost in South Africa versus the consumption and demand internationally. So that was the first light bulb.
Yeah. And then the next light bulb?
Then the next light bulb was then what?
So what?
What do you pursue within that space? And how do you pursue it? Do you pursue it in its raw product? So, for example, exporting grapes and citrus to Europe. Do you add value to make an intermediate product, to make a final product? And if it's a final product, is it branded? So what type of product and how basic is the product from a raw product to fully processed, beneficiated, branded product? And where I landed was less so on the primary side, so less so on the citruses and the grapes of the world, because I come from Johannesburg. I don't come from a farming family, and I didn't really want to move to a farm just yet. So I needed to find something that was more processing related, that still took advantage of the endowment of natural produce we have here. So that was meat as one example. That was processed tree nuts. That was wines. I think those were the three that I was sort of looking at. Ideally doing that from Johannesburg. And meat was the one that seemed least explored. Because we do export wine, just not as well as we could. We export very little meat. Now we do, but back then we did very little. So I felt that there's a big opportunity for us to be exporting meat when nobody's doing that. And even when Maneli was formed, we were the first South African company to figure out how to export to the US and to figure out how to export to Asia. So,
but aren't like Korean beef and those guys already in that space? Or
on the meat side, yes, now they are. But this is as recently as 3-4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, is it more domestic?
Just regional. So selling to the neighboring countries.
Oh, okay.
Which is a big market.
Oh, as in SADC.
SADC, yes.
Okay. So not so much, because I do remember not so long ago they were talking about China.
Yes.
As a market. I mean, I don't know if they're there now, but I do remember articles.
So the likes of Karen and Beefmaster are exporting to Asia now. But with all of them, they figured out how to do it in the last 5 years.
Okay. So it's more recent.
Yes, yeah. Okay. And also China opening up in the last 5 years.
Yeah, there was a lot of regulations linked to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So the meat industry seemed like a bigger white space opportunity to exploit versus other areas like wine and tree nuts. So that's sort of how I thinned it down. But then you have to test the validity of this hunch or the idea. So I rented a room within a meat processing plant in Boksburg. Some guy that I knew who was one of the shareholders was like, sure, if you pay us some rent. So I think I was paying like 5 or 10,000 rand a month, 5,000 rand a month to use one of the rooms and one of the ovens that they had to learn how to make pet treats, learn how to make biltong, learn how to make dried bone, learn how to make a range of things. And I wanted to focus on all natural, which is the smaller section of the pets market, but a fast growing one and a more margin rich one. So I learned from scratch. And then 6 months later, my co-founder joined, and he added some impetus and some creativity to the process.
Yeah.
And let's say 3 or 4 months later, we had like a mini catalog that you could put together to now start parading in front of potential wholesalers, buyers, and that's when it felt like the business was actually coming to life. Yeah.
Okay. But it was a bit of a journey. So that hunch, going back to that hunch, it was 07, 08? Correct?
08, yes, yeah.
Oh, 08. And then you did the US after up until 2012.
Yes.
But then you still worked. You did your work back to 2014, 2015.
Exactly.
And then that's when the business actually started.
Yes.
So it was a good 7 to 8 year journey, actually.
Yes.
And that's probably something that a lot of people don't recognize.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurship is not an overnight success.
No, certainly not. And that's all ideation in my head. And talking to people. I was clear in my mind that I need a salary. So I couldn't take a year out back then to just mess around. I was also wanting to get married. So there's some cost related to that I needed to be mindful of. But after saving a bit more money and getting married, I felt that I had a bit of a savings buffer to allow me to experiment. A partner who also had a salary, which was hugely important because my salary went way, way down when I decided to go into entrepreneurship. And a bit of maturity and data and feedback from different sources to feel like this is the time to figure out if the idea can actually go to a fundable business. And even that experiment took 13 months from leaving McKinsey, doing some feasibility studies, sending samples back and forth to the US, getting feedback, putting together a catalog, putting together sample packaging to then get offers or letters of interest from people overseas that I could then use for fundraising.
And just that time period between when you officially started to when the business now started sort of settling, given that you pivoted right from humans to pets.
Yes.
What is that time period?
12 months.
12 months.
Yes, Within about 3 months, I knew that the meat for human consumption.
Oh, okay. So it was within actually that period where you pivoted.
Okay. That I decided to park that idea.
Okay.
I still think it's a great idea. It just needs capital and patience to unlock that opportunity and a different political and trade environment. Currently trying to get anything into the US.
Good luck.
No luck. But with a different dispensation of government, I think there is appetite and ways to do that, especially for proteins that don't challenge American proteins head on. And they do a lot of beef and a lot of chicken. So exporting beef and chicken there wouldn't quite make sense. But they don't have ostrich, they don't have venison, they don't have a slate of things that we've got here that are arguably complementary to what they have in the US. So, but I decided to park that idea within 3 months of my foray into entrepreneurship. And the next 9 months were coming up with samples, working on costing, coming up with a catalog, talking to people that I could bring into the business once I feel like there's enough traction, talking to funders or angel investors who could put in the first pot of money once I felt that there was enough to warrant a business. So the first round of angel investment that you got was exactly 12 months or exactly 11 months after I left McKinsey to go into entrepreneurship.
Okay. And just take me through some of the early struggles. I mean, I can't imagine it was a walk in the park. Aside from the salary dip.
So this is 10 years ago, 11 years ago that I left McKinsey. I'm 42 now. I was 31 then. It shows because I was a lot more naive and optimistic about the world and my talents and everything else, which is maybe a good thing because if I was as jaded and as mature as I am now, I never would have done it. So the things that changed and that I had to learn were one, obviously, salary.
Yeah.
The certainty of a salary, number one, is not there. The quantum of the salary is way down.
Coming from McKinsey.
So your lifestyle and your costs have to go down significantly. And two, the amount of stuff you need to do on your own when you're an entrepreneur versus what happens in a company that you kind of take for granted. So a letterhead, a logo, a website.
And this is before AI.
Yes, exactly.
So you have to go and hire graphic designers or do it yourself.
So that's first year, I felt like I was doing 3x the work that I was doing the year before for a tenth of the salary that I had. And I was like, why am I doing this? But you need to put in that initial investment. And it's really, really hard because I was on a good track in consulting. I wasn't pushed out in any way. I enjoyed the work. To then leave that on a good wicket to go into a life of struggle. You have to be clear on why you're doing this. Because if you're not, and your why has to also be linked to your passions and your worldviews. If you don't have some of that chemistry in place, it's just way too easy to call it quits. So to answer your question, salary, lifestyle, workload, diversity or range of work that you need to do. And the last one is the accountability as an entrepreneur versus the accountability that you have to live with when you're within a corporate. If you're in a corporate and you deliver a project and the project isn't as great as people were hoping for, no one person is to blame. They're not going to come and find Teddy and be like, hey, Teddy, this was a 6 out of 10. We're expecting a 9 out of 10. Therefore, we're only paying 60%. So the institution just has a lot of padding for blows, for criticism, versus for entrepreneurship. It's all you. It's all you. Product is not great. It's on you. Money doesn't come in on time. It's on you. You don't hire someone. It's on you. You disappoint an investor. It's on you. So that level of responsibility and accountability was a huge step up from what I was used to before. And it's not that I was devoid of responsibility before. It's just that entrepreneurship really makes you the spear tip on many, many things.
Did you ever feel like giving up at some point?
How many times per year?
We're like, why am I doing this? Why am I subjecting myself to this horror and struggle?
I myself have that feeling a lot. You also get feedback from friends and family where they know that you could be working less and making more money doing something else, and they kind of question you on that. And you have to strike a balance between being resilient and hardworking and persistent versus being stubborn and thick-skinned and not hearing people giving you legitimate feedback. And it's hard to figure out which is happening in a situation. I think for any person who's not a sociopath as an entrepreneur is a very real consistent feature, even when things are going well.
And I mean, how important is the support structure in that journey? Because you've got responsibilities. You know, you have a wife. You said you wanted to get married. You're very clear about that. You now have got a young one. And you also have the rest of the family. You know, if you are supporting them in any way, you know, how important do you think that support structure is?
It's hugely important in many ways, but I'll focus on two. The one is the emotional or sentimental supports that you get from friends and family, especially your immediate family. That's really hard what you're dealing with or what just happened, but you're still doing well and think about all the other good things you've done in the last 2 months. So people being in your corner, and not just to kiss your ass, but just to give you perspective that this is hard, but you're still doing a decent job. You're doing a good job. And secondly, the financial support that I would not be able to do this if I didn't have my wife.
Wow.
I certainly wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would not be able to do this if there were tough moments and I could call on a friend to say, I've got payroll coming up and I'm short. I've tried 4 other things leading up to this. Can you please assist me? So having that sort of support is imperative. And if you don't have those 2 things in place, your 10 years as an entrepreneur is going to be short. But the converse of that is the entrepreneurs who typically do survive the slog of being an entrepreneur are the ones who've just got more runway, emotional runway and financial runway.
I love the emotional runway, actually. Never thought about it that way. Yeah.
So if you've got a family that can just give you 5, 7, ideally 10 years of the space, the emotional bandwidth, and the financial support that you need, you'll find your way to profits. You might meander and fumble and make big mistakes, but you'll find your way there. If you don't have that sort of long runway on those fronts, then it's going to be a far harder journey.
And I mean, if one thinks about possibly the pressure that you will have gone through in that you've started from the bottom. Now we're here. If I can quote Craig. But what I mean by that is I look at your upbringing. You probably started in a township school. And by the way, I've got a very similar journey. But the pressure and the anxiety started in a township school, went to a Model C, went to a private school, went to 2 of arguably the best universities in the world, in Oxford and Harvard. And that CV is corporate CEO. Right? Like, that's what it spells. But you decided to go into pet food. So the pressure and the anxiety, and not only from your family, but I can imagine from society, would have been immense.
It absolutely was. And my former employer, my former colleagues, people around me are still a bit puzzled about, is this the best use of your talents and your time? So it would have been easier to follow those expectations. And those expectations would have landed me in a place that's just fine or great, actually. So I don't discount that path and people who make those choices. I might have made those choices and have felt great about it. And I know people have made those choices and I really support them. The thing that gave me pause was I have one life in this really precious generation where all throughout history it was near impossible as a Black person to really impact change or the direction of your generation. And now you can't do that on your merits, on your own talents. I want to use my one life and my talents to do more than lead an organization. I want to create jobs. I want South Africa to be more recognizable as an exporter, as an international player. I want to make it possible for Black people to start a business from scratch and have it grow to maturity and have it grow into like corporate and professional size. So it's a less common path, but it needs early pioneers to chart that way. Even working in corporates in the 70s and 80s was unheard of. Until you saw someone who was in corporate and you're like, okay, well, if he can do it, then surely I can do it. And at once going into entrepreneurship and starting a business and running a factory and exporting, to feel like that in 20 years' time. People are like, but I know 3 or 4 people that have done that to look like me, so surely I can do it too. So that's the reason I've chosen this path. That I think it's more meaningful for Black people in this country, for our generation, for this country in general, regardless of race, to see people taking a more risky path that is more important for unlocking economic opportunities for the country.
And you're doing it your way because, you mentioned just now that it's better than or more fulfilling than leading an organization because it's your organization. You're the one that's actually shaping it. And so just that level of fulfillment is probably worth more than anything you can think of.
It's huge, And like there's a lot of cons and setbacks to being an entrepreneur, but there's also a lot of pros. Creating something that you believe in and then taking a form that you can recognize as hugely rewarding. Having autonomy of what you do and over your time, also massive. The flexibility I have as an individual is also really important, which is flexibility that I wouldn't have had if I was beholden to a board and exco at a big company. So there are latent benefits to being an entrepreneur or working for yourself that I recognize and I'm really grateful for. And
then just to sum it up, is where's your business going?
Where's my business going?
So you're not going to go back to food or to humans. you think the pet food market is big enough to grow your business?
Yes, it is. And I'll answer the question by giving you a bit of the history. So when we started out, Maneli was entirely an exporter. We had 10% of our revenue from Woolworths in South Africa, and 90% was exports. Then COVID happened, and we lost all of our export business in 1 week. And we had to figure out how to stay in business. So we did that by finding a range of South African customers. And we now sell to over 1,000 retailers in South Africa, in all the provinces. So it's a very proudly and very diffusely South African company at the moment. I never thought that when we started out, but I'm glad that we're there. There's a big opportunity for us to chase in exporting, which is where we are gearing up to get back into. We exporting on an ad hoc kind of way, but you want to export into this large, massive market internationally. The pet industry, I think, is big enough and interesting enough for me to focus on for at least this chapter. It's quadrupled in size in the last 10 years. From a $60 billion industry to a $240 billion industry.
Just food?
Just pet food. No, the pet industry.
Oh, just the pet.
Yeah, and half of that is food.
Half of it is food.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Our GDP as a country is 400 billion. So, it's huge. It's a huge industry.
What's 500 billion? Or
from 60 billion to 240 billion.
So it's more than half our GDP.
Yes. Yeah. One dog industry.
Dogs. Jeez, do they eat that much?
Yeah, so it's a big industry. And I want to keep being at the helm of the business while we are still experiencing double-digit growth. When we get to less than that, it's probably time for me to hand over the baton to someone else. And there's still a lot to be done, but I feel like I would have done the really hard work and what I set out to do. What I do beyond that, I'll explore at the time. And it might be an adjacent opportunity. It might be public service. It might be something else completely different. Time will tell. But at least for the next at least 5 years, I'm going to be focusing on doing as good a job as I can on making good on this opportunity.
And do you see then you going beyond food, but still within pets? I mean, I can imagine that market as well, when you think about insurance, when you think about...
Insurance, we're already cross-selling pet insurance with one of the large insurers in the country. It's a pilot that we want to now formalize into a line of revenue. So that side path or extension is already happening. Accessories is also an easy extension from
accessories.
And accessories are also margin rich, and people spend a lot on.
So they're not just dog chains.
And chains, leashes, training collars, toys, all of that stuff.
People spend money on that.
The three things that people spend the most on their pets are food, vet services, and accessories. So that $240 billion industry,
makes sense,
is mostly consumed by those three things. So there's a lot of adjacencies to pet food and pet treats that we could explore, or decide that we want to explore something else in the human snack side. Because there's a lot of parallels between
human snacks.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So time will tell. I'm not hunting for new opportunities because there's a lot that I'm working on right now. But when the time is right, I know opportunities will make themselves evident.
And then just lastly, the Africa opportunity. Are you interested in that market at all? Because I mean, you spoke a lot about exporting overseas and then kind of the national presence. But what about the rest of Africa?
We've tried to, but two things have made it difficult. One is our price points. We sell premium, human grade pet food, which it's mostly Europeans and Americans and rich Asians who can afford that. It's not that to say that there aren't rich pockets within Africa. There's plenty of those, but it's easier to go fishing in Asia and Europe as opposed to on the continent. And then secondly is intra-African trade is still characterized by a lot of barriers. It's easier to export to Europe. It's easier to get import permits from Europe, from South Africa. If you export into Europe, it's easier to get papers than it is to, say, to the DRC or to Angola. So there's a lot we need to do as a continent to make intra-African trade more seamless. Then business will follow. So it's those two reasons. Our cost is a little bit high for the average consumer on the continent. And two, intra-African trade comes with more challenges and barriers than international trade.
But is there a market in general? I mean, when you say your price point is too high for the African market, is there a market for pet experiences to begin with?
There is. Okay. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So they do like their pets as well.
Yeah. They absolutely do. And South Africa's not an island on the continent. We're part of the continent. And we've got a big market here. So we've got a big market here. We would have a market in Namibia and Mauritius and everywhere else on the continent. There are people who have domestic pets who they treat like family, and they've got the spending power to do so. So the market is there. It's tougher to serve.
Okay. No, Kanka, thanks so much. It's been fascinating. I've learned more about pet food and the pet industry in the 45 to 50 minutes than my entire life, actually. I mean, I never really had a pet. I'd have cats, dogs here and there. But with 3 kids, I think I should get a pet.
You should.
I think it's about time.
Pets are phenomenal. And I mean, I grew up with a dog that was all sporty, no Rex. So,
of course,
but how they bring kids alive and give kids compassion and responsibility, I think is really important. And humans have always lived alongside animals. We need to recognize that. It makes us better people. So I think having a pet for anyone who has the means to do so is something you should do at some point in your life. Well, I hope next time we speak, you will have had a dog. Get a dog.
No, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. I think what you're doing is really phenomenal, and not just for South Africa, but for the Black South African. And I isolate that because very few people are pioneering certainly this industry as Black professionals and Black entrepreneurs. And so really, on behalf of Black entrepreneurs and professionals, I actually want to thank you. I don't know if people thank you enough, but pioneering something like this, very risky, white dominated to a large degree, and being able to make an impact globally is truly phenomenal. So kudos to you.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Excellent. Look after yourself.
I will do.
We'll chat.
Cool.
All right. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you soon. Chap chap.